member of the Board of Trustees. And in a recent visit to Washington, I had the opportunity to meet with Dr. Allen, and it's evident when you spend some time with Gale how much she embodies the Brenau ideal that we spoke of and read earlier. It's my hope that we will carefully consider her vision for the future, and as it represents some of the most creative and exciting things that our nation not only has led in the past, but continues to lead throughout this century, we all pray. It'll be something that will be living with us as we see it unfold around us. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Gale Allen.
Good evening. This is an exciting time for you. Thank you, Dr. Schrader, for that warm welcome and introduction. And thank you for inviting me to speak here tonight. I first want to congratulate each and every one of you on the accomplishments you've achieved. This is truly a first step in your future and your career, and it's an exciting point in your time, and I'm so excited to be a part of that. I thought about a number of things topics that I might want to talk about that may be of interest, but of course my favorite is NASA, so I did settle in on NASA as a topic, and actually how my career has developed over the time that I've been with NASA. With the changing nature of the workplace, concerns about the future have been expressed by many individuals, both those preparing to start a career and those having to adjust to job changes and even occasional job losses. Stable and secure positions have all but disappeared. Many organizations have relinquished the responsibility for employees' professional development. In other words, you are in charge of your own career. You've made a significant step tonight, developing your career by being here. But remember, your career will always be managing your career will always be a lifelong process. The challenges you face may seem daunting, but the tools that Brenau have given you and you have earned here will serve you well. We at NASA understand daunting challenges. We have four main areas of research and development. Aeronautics research, where we perform research for aviation safety. Space research, where we conduct missions that send robotics to Mars and other destinations. And I'm sure you have seen or heard of Spirit and Opportunity, two of our most famous robots that are on the surface of Mars. They've been there for many years, far longer researching the surface than we ever expected they would be. And that to us is an extreme example of a success. Space operations is the third area of responsibility, and they are responsible for launching both human space flight and robotic missions. They have to ensure the safe and successful launches, and this is, as you can well believe, a daunting task in its own right. And lastly is exploration systems. This is the area that develops launch capability to send humans soaring into the skies. It's an exciting time. In early 2004, we were given a clear direction by the then President Bush. Complete the International Space Station, fly shuttle until 2010 and then retire it, develop and fly the new crew exploration and launch vehicles by 2014, and extend human presence across the solar system and beyond. Not a small thing to be looking to do. Between now and September 2010, we have 9 shuttle missions planned. Most are to complete the International Space Station, and one is to maintain systems that have already been deployed. Last month, we installed a truss segment with additional solar arrays to increase power production in support of a 6-person crew that we will have for the first time next month on the International Space Station. Next week, the Space Transportation System, or what we love to call STS-125, launches 7 astronauts to the Hubble Space Telescope to perform critical repairs to extend the service for at least 5 more years. I'm sure many of you have been delighting in the pictures that have been sent back from Hubble. They are extraordinary. But this mission is a dangerous one, and NASA debated for some time as to whether the mission should be undertaken. Ultimately, the decision was yes, but extra safety precautions had to be implemented. I was just at Kennedy Space Center last week. We drove down to the launch pads, pad 38-9A and 39B, where the shuttle is launched. What an extraordinary picture, a shuttle on each pad, Atlantis on pad A and Discovery on pad B. A rare occurrence indeed. Atlantis will blast off from pad A carrying a crew of 7, while for contingency and safety purposes, Discovery will remain on pad B, ready to launch on need, should a rescue be required from a problem arising from the safety of the crew. This mission will require 5 spacewalks during the repairs and upgrades. Looking at the 2 shuttles on the pads was a particularly poignant moment for me, since I began my NASA Civil Service career at Kennedy Space Center. At that time, I managed the materials and chemistry labs in the Operations and Checkout Building, we lovingly call ONC. That building also houses the astronaut crew quarters. And I would see many of the astronauts on a daily basis. I consider all of them my coworkers, and many of them my friends. During each launch, we stand at the door of the ONC and wish them farewell as they take the ride to the launch site some 7 miles away. The thrill of watching the launch and the pride of knowing you've contributed to it and to the safety of your fellow comrades is one of the most rewarding experiences of my life. It just never gets old. I would like to talk about the exploration systems. This is an area of NASA that is developing the shuttle replacement. Although shuttle has supported NASA's human exploration for the last 30 years, it has been and continues to be critical in the completion of the International Space Station. It is time to look to the future. The shuttle cannot travel to the moon. And in order to return to the moon, not for just the short 12 days of the Apollo program, but for 6 month stays, continuous stays in a permanent habitat, we must design a new system. We are well on our way in developing the Ares 1 crew launch vehicle and the Orion crew exploration vehicle to replace the shuttle. The first phase of development will be completed in 2015 and have the capability of not only providing new supplies and crew rotation for the International Space Station, but will be half of the capability to return to the moon. The primary purpose of targeting the moon is to use it as a test bed to evaluate risk mitigation plans and test new technologies that will be necessary to travel to Mars and other planetary surfaces. Remember, it takes 3 days to travel to the moon, so the crew can return home fairly quickly should there be an issue, an occurrence that would require them. On the other hand, it will take 6 months to travel to Mars, so we better be sure that the technologies, including life support systems that we send them with, are reliable.